So we are going to continue the trend of seeing a modern society that you could recognize, right? So cities are improving, more and more people are moving into cities. You've got things like the light bulb and electricity and automobiles and radio, right? So we're starting to see a society that you could recognize. And the experience of women began to change as well because new job opportunities are open up for women because there's such a need for low cost white collar workers. You need telephone operators. You need secretaries, for instance. You need sales clerks in department stores. That's also the birth of the department store, by the way, during this time period because more people have more money. And this creates more job opportunities for women. Now, a lot of these jobs, they're low paying, but at least it's something new. At least there's something else. There's new opportunities for women out there. And that means you also need more educated women, at least to have a basic education to be a secretary, for instance, or to be a sales store clerk. You need some sort of education for them. So you begin to see more educational institutions pop up aimed at women, like all female universities, for instance, begin to grow in number because there's new opportunities, and to get these opportunities, the women need to be educated. Something else that changes the lives of women is the size of the average family gets smaller. You know, since so many people now live in cities, large families, it doesn't make sense anymore. We're not living in the farms anymore. We're living in cities. So that's one reason why families get smaller. They also get smaller because contraception gets better, and you can try to actively control the number of children that you have. So instead of having 12 children, maybe you only have 2 or 3 children. And this changes the way families operate because since you have fewer children, you get, if as the parents, you get to lavish all of your time, attention, and money on the children that you do have. It's during the Victorian era, the late 1800s, that you see the birth of Christmas that we know it as, that center around the child getting gifts, right? It's because you want to lavish all that money and attention on your child. So we're starting to see, once again, a society you could recognize. Cities are becoming what you would recognize with all the health codes and building codes. You're starting to see the inventions you would recognize, like the radio, the light bulb, the cars. Starting to see families that you would recognize. They have 12 or 14 children, you only have 2 or 3. Also, you don't need to have as many children because you used to have a lot of children because chances are around half of your children would not survive into adulthood. Now, with medicine getting better, right, the odds of your child surviving into adulthood are far, far, far greater. And what's interesting is with women getting more and more opportunities, eh, they want more, right? They get a taste of it and they want more. So you see the birth of modern feminism. Now we saw some of this in the Enlightenment with Mary Wollstonecraft, saying if you just educate women, they can prove themselves the equal to men. In modern feminism, more and more women actively begin to demand, not just ask, but demand more rights and better treatment. One of the first things they go after is property rights, because think about it, if a woman can't own property, she can never be independent. Never. She will always have to rely on a man. So in Western Europe and the United States began to demand property rights, which many women did not get property rights until the late early 1900s. That's not that long ago, historically speaking. But once they have property rights, then they can demand other things. And modern feminism really takes off with the suffragist movement. Remember, suffrage is the right to vote. Women began to demand the right to vote because they realize once they have the right to vote, they have power because politicians are going to want to go after their vote. And it was a struggle. They had to demand it. They had to protest. They had to go on strike. They had to march. Sometimes they even got arrested. There were even suffragists, I kid you not, that they would show up to protest, and the police were at times abusive towards these women, violently so. So some of the suffragists began to learn judo, right? So you had like judo female suffragists literally fighting for their right to vote. It was an interesting idea, right? Something else that you would recognize from modern society is free public education, universal education. For one of the first times in history, societies begin to realize, wait, we're going to have to pay for our children to be educated. Everyone needs at least a basic education. because they're expanding the voting rights. You get to the start of the 1900s in Western Europe, pretty much every adult male can vote. Well, if they're voting, you want them to be educated. You want them to be able to research politics and politicians and issues. You want them to be able to read the ballot, and they need to know how your government works. So you need educated voters. You also need educated workers. Even factory work was getting to such a point, being so complicated, that even factory workers needed a basic level of education. And also, governments figured out, wait, this is a way to instill patriotism. Think about it. From kindergarten to you graduate high school, every single day you say the Pledge of Allegiance. Right? Is a great way to instill patriotism, to also teach your children the history of your country and why you think your country is the best country. And so all of a sudden governments realize that there is a lot of benefits to be had. We're not just throwing away money, we are investing, literally investing in the future. And think about it, the more people in your society that are educated, the more new inventions you're going to have, the more new ideas you're going to have, the more entrepreneurs you're going to have. Free quality public education uplifts the entirety of society. It's just very logical.